Thank you. We've had an opportunity to walk around and talk with a number of you today about some of the issues that are facing the office. And first of all, just so you can understand where I'm coming from with regard to my understanding and my concept of gun rights, let me tell you how I understand our gun rights to exist. As Mr. Kreitz pointed out, our gun rights come from God. They don't come from our Constitution, not our federal Constitution, not our state Constitution. Those rights existed before those constitutions were formed. Those rights were given to us by our Creator, and our government and our Constitution is expressly tasked with making sure that those rights are protected at all times, that we have that right to have a weapon to defend ourselves. Now, I can tell you, I begrudgingly got my concealed carry license, and I am a concealed carry holder, but I'll tell you, the government really should not have the right to dispense those rights, should not have the opportunity to keep law-abiding citizens from having a weapon. That's a right that we should have regardless. And as Attorney General, I would use the office to the fullest extent to make sure that we could adopt a law similar to what they have in Alaska, where you can get a license for reciprocity reasons, but you certainly don't need one to have and to carry a weapon, whether open or concealed as well. That's going to be a priority in our administration. Now, with regard to fighting crime, I can tell you that the most effective crime fighter that exists in the state is you. You look at yourself in the mirror every day, and that's the best source of fighting crime. Now, this is billed as the safest place in Ohio, and by a show of hands, who here believes that? All right? This is why I didn't bring my speed loader. I figured I'm not going to need to reload. That's not going to be necessary. So as we go forward then, and we bring this understanding of what we need to do as an Attorney General, I think the first thing that we have to understand is that law enforcement officers need the appropriate training to understand that citizens must have the right to carry a weapon. Law-abiding citizens carrying a weapon is the best friend that police officers can have in the field, and it's absolutely essential that we make sure they understand that. In my administration, police officers are going to get a thorough training to make sure that you can carry open, you can carry concealed, that you're a law-abiding citizen with a gun, and that's not going to be violated in any way, shape, or form. In addition to dealing with the training aspects, the Attorney General's office can absolutely be used as a bully pulpit to make sure that we get this word out about gun rights and about the safety issues that come into play with regard to protecting our families. And this is a critical aspect of what we can do in our societies. Too often, and we've seen with the Appleseed Project and so many other things, people are just simply terrified about a gun because they don't understand the value that owning a gun and having a gun brings to society. We're going to make sure that we go to every Kiwanis club, to every Rotary club, to every junior high and high school, and educate our children and educate our fellow citizens about the value of an armed citizen in Ohio. In addition to gun issues, I suppose that we all here pay taxes as well, right? And here with the tax issue, the Attorney General can make a big difference in what that bottom line impact is to you. Every year, the Attorney General's office has nearly $140 million in no-bid contracts. These are contracts that the Attorney General can just designate out to their political cronies for political patronage and deal with special interests. In my administration, that stops the day we take office. Moreover, I think most citizens would be shocked to know that when the Attorney General's office sues either to collect back taxes or sues companies that have engaged in fraud and they receive money back, you would think that that money would go into the state treasury, into the general treasury, to offset tax dollars that you're going to pay. That's wrong. What happens is that goes to the Attorney General's office to use as a slush fund, essentially for whatever pet project that elected official might have. Ladies and gentlemen, that system must come to an end. In my administration, it will come to an end. The process of electing public officials is one that as citizens we have an absolute right to carry forward. When the Constitutional Convention convened in 1787 and they finished up what they were doing, all these luminaries strolled out of Liberty Hall, Jefferson and Franklin and these fellas, and nobody knew what form of government would be given. Some lady ran up to Ben Franklin and said, "Sir, what have you given us?" And his response was, "A republic, if you can keep it." And that "if you can keep it" is a critical aspect of our duties as citizens. We have an absolute responsibility to make sure that we review the people that we're sending into public office, that we make sure that they are truly going to carry forward the public good, that they are not tied to special interests, that they have no political cronies and patronage that they have to dole out while in office. That is our responsibility. And so when we look at the government and we complain about things that the Democrats did with Mark Dand or the things that the Republicans did with Coingate, ultimately the responsibility for that, just like the responsibility for fighting crime by being armed, is our responsibility. That's why I'm running as an independent. We're not going to be tied to these special interests. We're going to make sure that we're going to systematically change the way the Attorney General does business. So we're going to cut through this political patronage system. We're going to cut through the special interest system. We're going to make it safe for you to carry a gun as a law-abiding citizen wherever you want to go throughout the state of Ohio. That is going to be the focus of our campaign, to re-empower you. That's why I'm going to be asking for your vote in November, and that's what I'm going to bring to the office once elected. And that's a critical aspect of what we can do as citizens, to stop complaining and start doing. With that, I ask you for your support in November, and I'll take any questions. Yes, sir.
We recently got the Castle Doctrine signed, which is a good step in restoring our rights, which we should never have allowed to be taken away to begin with. One of the problems, and I don't know if it's coming or how, we still don't have a stand your ground law like they do in Florida. You know, if we're caught out in the alley someplace or out on the street, we're still obligated to run. We still have a duty to retreat. My problem is I can't. I haven't been able to run in 20 years. And any military man can tell you the worst thing you can do is turn your back to the enemy. Now, we need to remedy that.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. When we talk about empowering ourselves as citizens to use guns, it's an absolute imperative that we can do so in a law-abiding way. If I happen to be witnessing somebody going berserk and gunning down people across the street, and I've got a gun, well, I got to tell you, law or no law, I'm going to go over and take care of the situation. I'm not going to allow a massacre to happen. That's an outrage. And moreover, we've seen with the event at Virginia Tech, what wasn't in the news, about a year earlier there was a private law school in which students could be armed, faculty could be armed, and a disgruntled student came into the law school, I think it was the Appalachian Law School in Virginia, with the intent of carrying forward one of these massacres. Well, because of armed faculty, because of armed students, that issue never even made the news because it wasn't a massacre. That's why it's so important that you as citizens have the right to be armed, have the right to make sure that your defense is primarily going to be your responsibility, and that's the best way to achieve crime. Also, it doesn't cost any taxpayer dollars. So.